Good evening. Thanks for inviting us. I understand that Commissioner Saltzman will be following me. So. It's delightful to be back. I haven't had a chance to join you since my election, so let me first say to those of you that supported me, thank you. And to those of you who didn't, I'm working tirelessly every day to earn your trust. And it's the best job I've ever had, and it took me 50 years to finally find a job that pulled together all my passions. And I actually tell that to kids when I go speak to them. I say, don't be deterred. It may take a little while, but you'll end up getting there if you stay at it. So thank you very much for giving me the privilege of serving you. Just by way of background, I am the first commissioner, I think in history, who's been both the housing commissioner and the parks commissioner at the same time. And so I'm very honored to have those dual roles. And I have to tell you, it's a natural connection for me. And I think particularly for those of you who are involved with the Coalition for a Livable Future or a number of other organizations, you know that if you go further east in Portland, we have the same problems. We have areas that are underserved by parks and have substandard housing. And I have a chance as the Housing and Parks Commissioner to tackle both problems together. So I'm very excited. I will tell you that in the housing side, we are in the process of creating a brand new housing bureau. You may have read about it. We're going to take all the talent out of the Bureau of Housing and Community Development and the housing people out of PDC and the housing money out of PDC, and we're going to put them together and we're going to create a new Bureau of Housing. And in doing so, we're going to expand greatly the focus of the Housing Bureau of the city. So my jurisdiction will be everything from homelessness to home ownership and everything in between. And you'll see a much broader agenda where everybody in Portland that cares about housing can come and get some relief. It's going to take a little bit of time to do. It's structurally a little complicated. But when we're finished, I think it will mean I think the benefits will be manifest. And what we'll be able to do is be much more focused and strategic about how we address housing in our community. There are a lot of different players right now: city, county, Housing Authority of Portland, Portland Development Commission, nonprofits, and we have folks that are doing things that overlap or sometimes conflict. What we are now doing is moving to align our housing strategies and dollars in a way that I think will have powerful results for people that need our help in our community. On the park side, I am taking over parks at a fairly perilous time, and I wasn't here for all of the mayor's comments, but he may have mentioned that we are going to do some budget cuts this fiscal year in anticipation of next fiscal year cuts. So we've prepared packages of 2.5% and 5% cuts for next fiscal year, which starts in July, but we're also looking for cuts now. And the sad truth, well, I won't say the sad truth. I will say here's the reality. Most everybody in the council believes that we should hold public safety reasonably harmless in the downturn. And I'm not just saying that for the benefit of two of our finest in the back, but the truth is that we want to maintain our complement of police officers. We're already short. We don't have enough people in gang enforcement. We don't want to go backwards. At the same time, there isn't a person in this city that wants to see their local fire station closed, that wants to see the response time degraded. And so historically what we've done is we've held public safety reasonably harmless, and then the rest of the cuts are disproportionately impacting bureaus that depend on general fund money. I have the dubious distinction of having two bureaus that are quite dependent on general fund revenues. So we'll be taking cuts in housing and parks. Let me tell you what my value system and hierarchy is in parks and how you can weigh in through this process. I believe that we should first look for efficiencies and find areas where we can just cut costs. Second, where we can, we'll be looking to raise fees, but do so in a way that doesn't penalize people on fixed incomes, low income, or others. And third, we'll look for reductions in programs. But if we follow that hierarchy, I believe that we can preserve most, if not all, of our core programs that people care about. Programs for teens around nature and environmental education. programs for older adults that are so popular in our centers, and programs in sports and other key programs, as well as maintaining our community gardens, our parks. And it won't be easy, but there will be numerous opportunities for you to weigh in throughout this budget process, which ultimately ends in May. And I'll be looking for your guidance as to how we take these cuts. I know there's going to be some questions about community gardens and some other things in your neighborhood, so I'll hold for those questions and try to give you my best answer about what we might be able to do. I'm also the council liaison to Elders in Action. Elders in Action has set housing as their #1 agenda item. Mobility issues is, I think, a top 3 issue. It's interesting, I've learned a few things. At 50, I find my eyesight isn't the same that it was when I was 30. And we have been reviewing with Elders in Action all of our safety manuals and brochures, particularly the ones in our fire station. And not surprisingly, most of them fail the test. The font is too small. The information is not laid out in a way that's useful for someone who is older and whose eyesight is beginning to decline. So it's very humbling to learn those kinds of things, and we'll be putting some of that good advice into work in redoing our brochures and our manuals. I want to spend as much time as we can with your questions, but I want to just address something that may be on your mind, and that is about how we're doing at City Hall. And are we functioning as a body, and as the second newest member, what's been my impression? I have to tell you, I am incredibly impressed with the talent on this council. Our newest member is Amanda Fritz, who has hit the ground running and has already used her skills and leadership to move some fairly controversial items at council. She is a really welcome addition to the mix. I believe we have a very strong and capable council, and we're backed up by an incredibly professional team at City Hall and the Bureau. And our system that some people criticize as being inefficient because we have essentially 5 mayors, or 1 mayor and 4 wannabes, actually means we have a pretty good bench. We have a pretty good bench. And what I think you're going to see is the strength of this council coming up, and in good times and bad. Right now we're going through a crisis, and it's challenging. I started today at a meeting by saying that I had detected a change in attitudes. I came to work at 6:30 this morning. I read my first 10 emails. They're all calling for resignation. Unfortunately, they're calling for my resignation. but I think we're just seeing the ebb and the flow. But it's an important point I want to make, because I care deeply about the institution of City Hall, and I care deeply and love deeply this city. And I want you to know that we are getting work done. We are focused on the job that you elected us to do. And however this unfolds, I want you to know that you have a very talented group of people who are serving you at council. And it is a privilege for me to go to work and to join with my colleagues every day. So let me stop there and spend as much time as you like on questions. Ma'am?